All right, so here in 1.3, we're looking at relating SI and imperial units. So if you're looking at SI units, that's the same as metric units, okay? So centimeters, meters, kilometers, that kind of stuff. So if we are looking at the formula sheet that we got, so we can use this to help us fill out this chart here. So 1 inch is how many centimeters? 2.5 centimeters. 1 foot is approximately 30 centimeters. And 1 yard is approximately 90 centimeters. And that makes sense because 1 yard is 3 feet, so that's 3 times 30. And then 1 yard, how many meters is it? Well, how do I get from centimeters to meters? I can divide by 100, so I'll get 0.9 meters is approximately the same as 1 yard. And then for mile, 1 mile, well, on my chart here, I've got 1 mile as being 1.6 kilometers, but then how do I get from 1 kilometer to meter? How many meters is this? 1,000 meters, right? So I can take that and multiply it by the 1.6 and I get 1,600 meters. Okay. Now for this part where we're going from SI units to imperial or from metric to imperial, 1 centimeter, on my chart here it says 4/10 inches. So I could either have 4/10 inches, or what's another way that I could write it? 0.4 inches. Okay. And then 1 meter. Well, how many inches is that? 39. Okay. 39 inches. Now, can I convert that 39 inches so that it's in feet and inches? Well, how many inches in 1 foot? 12, right? So 39 divided by 12, well, how can I write that so I've got a whole number and a fraction? So 3 and what's left over? 3/12. So that means I've got 3 feet and 3 inches. Okay, now I'm going to convert that exact same thing to yards, feet, and inches. Well, how many feet make up 1 yard? How many feet make up 1 yard? 3 feet make up 1 yard. So I can actually write this as 1 yard. But then how many feet are left over? None. And then how many inches do I have? 3. Okay, perfect. Now let's look at 1 kilometer approximately using the conversions that we have here. How many yards is equivalent to 1 kilometer? Sorry. How many yards is 1 kilometer? Yeah. So here, we can use the fact that 1 kilometer is approximately equal to 6/10 miles, right? But then how many yards are in 1 mile? 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So in order to get how many yards 1 kilometer is, I can multiply those two together, and I get 1,056 yards, approximately. Okay? Okay. It's imperative that when you're doing these questions, you write down the conversion that you are using. Okay? So for this one, what are we needing to convert? We have a Canadian football field is approximately 59 meters wide. What is this measurement to the nearest foot? So we need to go from meters to feet. Okay, so what's the conversion that I have on my chart? I have 1 meter is approximately equal to 3 and a quarter feet. Okay, so this is the conversion that I'm using. You must write this out in your solution. So I've got 59 meters, and in order to change this to feet, what do I need to do to this 59 meters? I need to multiply it by 3/4 feet, right? So I can, if I'm using my calculator, I can change the 3 and a quarter to 3.25 and then actually get, so what do I end up getting? 191.75 feet. So 59 meters is 191.75 feet. What is the question asking for? To the nearest foot. So that means I have to round it to the nearest whole number. So the football field is approximately 192 feet wide. Okay, so make sure that you have this written out. All right, now, next question. It says, after meeting in Osoyoos, BC, Dakota drove 114 kilometers north, and Winona drove 68 miles south. And it's asking you who drove farther. There's a problem here, but it's not really a problem. It's just we have to kind of make sure we're speaking the same language. Dakota is in metric, and Winona is in imperial. We need to have them in the same units in order to compare the lengths. So we need to compare 114 kilometers with 68 miles. So which is longer? So we need to convert the lengths, or one of the lengths, so they are the same unit. All right, so you have two choices. You could either convert the 114 kilometers so that it's miles, or you could change the miles so that it's in kilometers. So I'm going to convert 68 miles to something kilometers. All right? How do I do that? What's the conversion I'm going to use? 1 mile equals 1.6 kilometers. So how do I convert 68 miles? I can multiply it by 1.6 kilometers, and I will end up getting 108.8 kilometers. Okay, so this is how long Winona drove. Winona drove approximately 109 kilometers, and Dakota drove 114 kilometers. So who drove longer? Dakota drove 114 kilometers, which is greater than how much Winona drove? 109 kilometers. Okay, so Dakota drove further. All right, and this is, you need to show your justification, which is right here. Okay? All right. Now, the next question is looking at how tall Nora is. Okay, so Nora knows that she's 5'7" tall. And we need to figure out what her height is in centimeters. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to convert 5'7" so that it is in centimeters. So there's a couple of ways that you could approach this. You could convert everything to inches first and then convert that to centimeters. Or you could just use the 5 feet and convert that to centimeters. So you've got 5 feet. How many centimeters is that? What's the conversion we're going to use for this? So use 1 foot is approximately equal to 30 centimeters. Okay, so we're going to use that for this. So then how do we get the centimeters? 5 times 30. So that's equal to approximately 150 centimeters. And then what about the 7 inches? We need to convert that to centimeters. So what is that going to give us? Well, what's the conversion we're going to use? 1 inch equals 2.5 centimeters. Okay? So then you're going to multiply 7 times 2.5. And what does that give you? 17.5 centimeters. So what is the total height? Total height of Nora is, we have to do what to these two? Add them together. Add them together and we end up getting 167.5 centimeters. All right. So her driver's license is probably going to say, what do you think her driver's license is going to say? 168 centimeters? Okay, so that's the number we're going to go with. Now, how would we estimate this using mental math? How would we estimate this? Mental math, so no calculator. All right, so using your brains, can you give me a range of numbers that it will be in between? Well, 5'7" is in between 5 and 6 feet, right? And I can use the conversion 1 foot equals 30 centimeters. That's a pretty easy one to use to multiply with, right? There's no decimals, it's not a funny number, it's pretty much multiplying by 3 and then adding a 0 at the end of the number you get. So how much is 5 feet in centimeters? It's 30 times 5, which is 150 centimeters. And what about 6 feet? How many centimeters is that if I use this? That's 30 times 6, which is 180 centimeters. Now, the number that we got is in between these two, right? So 168 centimeters is in between 150 and 180. So is it a reasonable estimate if we say her height is between 150 and 180 centimeters? Like 170 centimeters maybe? 165 centimeters? Those would be reasonable guesses, right? Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much what you have to show when you're doing this one. And the last question here, it says, a truck driver knows that his load is 15 feet wide. Regulations along his route state that any load over 4.3 meters wide must have wide load markers and an escort with flashing lights. So does this vehicle need wide load markers? And you have to justify your answer. So you need to show some math that proves your answer, that makes your answer more believable, okay? So that's what justify means, making sure that you have some math to support what you're saying. So the load is 15 feet wide, and the truck, let's see, truck driver knows that his load is 15 feet wide. Now, any load, so we need to see, is this over 4.3 meters? And if it is, then we need to put markers on our truck. So how are we going to do this? We need to convert 15 feet to meters. All right, what's the conversion that we're going to use? 1 foot equals approximately 0.3 meters. All right, now 15 feet is approximately 15 times 0.03, and that is 4.5 meters. So if 15 feet is approximately 4.5 meters, do I need to put wide load markers on my vehicle? Yes? Okay, you need wide load markers because your truck, because the truck is 4.5 meters, which is greater than 4.3 meters. Okay? Make sense? Okay, perfect, awesome. And now here is your homework. And I think this is the page number right here. So it's on page 22, and make sure you do these because that's what's going to help you, okay? Practice makes perfect, folks.